Super easy. Just it's gonna take a while.
That's what I should probably.
Hi, Katie. Oops, I can't hear you.
Happy Monday.
There you are. Hello, happy Monday.
Thank you.
Happy Monday.
There we go.
Let me see. My earbuds are connected. Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh. Y'all can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I must have too many things open because let me close out a couple of things.
You look great
My
in that
internet.
color. You do.
Thank you.
We know you look great in pink, but that's a great color on you.
Thanks. I was telling some of the ladies that went to the Amy Majuri's Raising Private Money. I did all this stuff to my skin, which whatever, being in your 40s. And so then I was like, oh, my makeup looks different. So I had to talk to my esthetician about it. And then I was like, my clothes look different. My hair color looked different. Anyway, so then I did that little test to see what season I'm in. And I discovered that I should be wearing more of this color. But so I'm trying to. I took a shower today and did my hair, which I typically do not do on Mondays. You typically get ball cap, Katie, which is not always exciting, but yeah. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully no one's calling in from Tennessee with that tornado. I don't even know if that made the news. There was a tornado somewhere in Tennessee. One of my friends, her brother's house was destroyed and 6 people are dead and 60 people were injured. And I feel like it hasn't been on the news. I only knew it because she put it on her Facebook.
I'm from Tennessee.
You are?
Uh-huh.
Did you hear anything about it, Ree?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Renee. I think I spelled my name wrong. Sorry.
Okay,
Renee.
I thought it was where in Tennessee was it?
It hit north of Tennessee in a town called Madison, and then Hendersonville, and then Clarksville, which is right up by the Kentucky border.
Yeah. Okay.
So those 3 areas were hit hard, but that's not very far from Nashville. And
yeah,
our tornado sirens went off where I live.
Really?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it's close, too close.
Yeah.
But very, very sad. There's a lot of people displaced right before Christmas. And
that was my whole thing is golly, just right before Christmas. And
exactly. I'm doing a little GoFundMe thing in the Sub 2 and Gator group just to see if I can take supplies up to them. And
oh, that's so nice, Renee.
Even some, I don't know, Christmas presents maybe for the kids. But
yeah, I mean, my friend Alana, her brother Zach, I mean, he's a former professional baseball player. They're going to be fine. They're not poor by any stretch of anyone's imagination. But they lost everything. I mean, they lost their house is destroyed.
Oh my goodness.
Destroyed. And I just started thinking about his memorabilia and he was in the All-Star game one year and just all that. It's crazy to think about how your home could be here one day and then not the next.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, feel free to drop the link, Renee. And yeah, absolutely.
I will. Actually, that's a great idea.
And
we got hit by a tornado 2 years ago.
You did.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable. We're outside of Philadelphia. never get hit by tornadoes. And the warning kept going off all day long on the cell phone. And I was
Yeah.
like, and then it was news. And my husband says, we're right in the path. And they said to go down in the basement at 5:45. And I'm like, I'm not going to go in the basement at 5:45. And
Yeah.
I was sitting there on the phone and I heard the freight train sound and I saw
Oh,
the house and we beefeated it down to the basement. Oh my God.
oh
I felt like I
my
was-
goodness.
Crazy,
Yeah.
really crazy. Nobody was,
We
well,
had-
one person killed, but I mean, people were just had no home for, you know, a good year and a half.
Yeah.
Mm.
It took
Well,
to- but
hopefully everyone in the sub 2 and Gator communities are safe.
Mhm.
Clearly also we have a small group, it looks like tonight. I know it did the 12 days. Are they kicking off today?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Got
why
it.
probably.
Okay. The 12 days are kicking off today, and several women emailed me and said, I can't make it because of that,
Mm.
which totally makes sense. I don't actually get those emails. They all go to my husband. And so if he doesn't tell me things about what's going on in sub 2, I don't really know. Crystal says she has it going on her computer. I love that.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
and we know that anytime that Pace launches anything, the first time, you know, there's probably 1,000, 2,000 people on that. So,
I think he said 2,000 when I got
Yeah.
on it. It was 2,000 people.
oh, really? Okay.
Easy.
And is there going to be another one next Monday? I guess there's,
I think it's every day, 12 days. I think.
okay.
Yeah, it's every 12 days.
I'm
Yeah.
here, baby. I'm here. Yes, my love. I love you. I'm here.
Oh, so sweet. Okay.
Okay, I'm putting that link into the chat if anybody's
Okay, great.
interested.
Thanks, Renee.
Mhm.
So with that though, because you know, Pace may go over an hour and some of you may want to drop off either in the middle of our call or at the end of our call. So we want to be respectful of time. I would love to hear, just drop in the chat. One of the things I always want to do is just a check-in. Where are you today on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're not feeling it at all, 10 being you're absolutely on fire? Just kind of give us, where are you with your energy? It's the thick of the holidays, whether you're celebrating Hanukkah right now, Christmas is coming up. There's so many holidays that are happening. And I know sometimes this can be a really rough time. Let's see here. Some 5s, some 3s, some 7s, some 10s. I feel I had the ick last week. I was meeting with a private money lender on Wednesday. It was a great meeting. I leave the meeting and then my ear just was pounding. And so I took a couple of days off and got on some meds, which was super nice. But I will tell you, ladies, I felt super guilty for resting because I'm like, now I'm behind. Now I haven't done the things. So well, I don't know if any of you ever go through that, but I was watching the Today Show this morning. It just happened to be on in the background. And Billy Porter, who has a light that just shines through. And one of the things that Billy Porter said was to continue to give yourself grace and compassion and love. And so that is what I have tried to do today. So no matter where you're coming from, no matter what's on your plate, if you're at a 3 or a 10, if you, Crystal said strep throat has gotten her.
No.
Yeah, there's just lots going on. So no matter where you are, remember that during this time of year to remember to give yourself grace and compassion and love. Spread that as much as you can as well. But tonight I'm super excited because we have Kerrie Deragon with us. And oh, Irene just popped on. So that's great. Irene, I was saying that we're competing with, well, we're not competing with Pace. Pace has got a lot going on. So some people are calling into that. Irene, would you do us the opportunity and introduce Kerrie, and then we'll kick it off and get going.
Absolutely. So today we have Kerrie And Kerrie got her real estate license in 1999. And so since she purchased her first flip in 2014, she has completed 5 flips and also do 7 to 8 wholesale transactions. And as I was talking to her, she's super knowledgeable in lease options or lease purchase. And she recently have just complete one and would be, as some of you are struggling with this for some of the property that you got, and especially with wraps, that this could be another great exit strategy, which seemingly could seems complex. So super looking forward to have Kerrie to share with everybody what is lease option, how to structure it, and what to pay attention to. So Kerrie, please take it over.
Okay, you guys will have to bear with me. This is my first time presenting, but I got a property. Okay, I'm going to start over. So the lease option is a dispo strategy. Okay, so if I started using it because I would be getting properties under contract to wholesale, but I was just very nervous about committing to a seller and saying, you know, yes, I can definitely sell your house. It's in an area that I don't know. It's a market I don't know. And I forgot to silence my phone. And so it was just, I thought there's a big affordability problem in the market right now where a lot of people can't afford houses, and yet they have deposit money. They just can't get approved for a mortgage because either they have a small business or they work on a 1099, or the rates have gone up so much that they can't qualify because they're, you know, there has to be a debt to income ratio under 50%. And so that is sort of a great way to get a tenant buyer. And the reason that they usually do it is because there's an option. They pay a one-time refundable, non-refundable option. Okay, so about $10,000. And they do not, like if the landlord decides that they're going to sell the house and all of a sudden the tenant buyer doesn't have a place to go. Now, meanwhile, they've got their kids in school and their friends, you know, they have friends, blah, blah, blah. They may not have the money saved up. So what the lease option does is it allows them to lease, and it's 2 contracts. It's a lease with an option to buy. And so they have generally, you can make the term whatever you want, but it's generally 5 years. That's what PACE recommends, to where they rent it, and anytime during that time they can put the mortgage in their name and they can exercise their option to purchase the property, and then get the mortgage in their name and go to closing. Now, in the meanwhile, the seller cannot sell the property. He can't rent it to anybody else. He basically can't do anything, you know, during that 5-year term unless the buyers decide that they don't want to exercise their option. And then in that case, you know, he can do it. Now, say the 5 years comes up and they still can't buy anything for whatever reason, then you can renew the option. I mean, the seller can say no if he doesn't want to, but why would you? And then the seller would renew it, and then the buyer tenant would have to pay another option fee, you know, $7,500 or $10,000, and then you get that money again, and then they continue to rent. I had a property in South Carolina that I was buying subject to, but the seller did not want to, he didn't want to transfer the deed out of his name. He was okay with me making the mortgage payments. And so I ended up doing a lease option with him where I am paying his mortgage. So the purchase price is $130,000, and I do have this mapped out. Should I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me let me give you capabilities. Hold on just a second.
I apologize, I wrote my notes earlier, and then I had to
No,
go
you're
out and
fine.
show a house on the fly, and I couldn't find my notes.
All good. You can share. Everyone has sharing, but please only let Kerrie share.
Let me just find the right thing to share. Here it is, maybe. There we go. All right, so so I'm under contract with the seller in South Carolina with a purchase price of $130,000 with a deposit of $5,000. His mortgage payment is $998. So he's going to maintain ownership of the house with all of the tax benefits. In this particular case, this is a sandwich lease option that I'm doing. Okay, so I got this under contract 3 times. The house fell through with other buyers. So basically what I do is I have the seller sign a power of attorney that gives me the opportunity to put it on the MLS and also sign offers and listing contracts, but that's a whole nother story. So I had 3
Kerrie,
different.
I just want to clarify. So you're not the seller. You don't own the property. You're the agent in
Correct.
this. Okay, cool.
I'm not
Thank
even
you.
an agent. I'm not an agent.
You're not
I'm
an
just a
agent.
wholesaler.
You're the
I mean, I'm an agent
wholesaler.
in South Carolina.
Sure, but you didn't take over, like you didn't purchase this sub 2.
No,
Okay, got
nope.
it.
Because this seller did not want to put the deed. He didn't want to, while the mortgage was still in his name, he did not want to get rid of the deed. He wanted the deed to stay in his name. Okay. So then I put an ad on Facebook for a rent to own. And I found I had probably 600 people respond to the ad. And so I found a tenant buyer. Okay, and I'm doing a lease purchase with them. And their purchase price is $150,000 and a non-refundable option fee of $10,000. And then they're paying the monthly rent of $1,700. So they're paying that to me, and then I'm turning around and paying the owner's mortgage. It's basically an arbitrage when you think of it. Okay, I mean that could be one way of calling it, another name for it. So I'm paying his mortgage of $998, and then I get to keep the difference of $700. Okay, and of this $10,000 option fee, I'm paying $5,000 to the seller. I get to keep that $5,000. All right, the buyer has 5 years. We did a lease option of 5 years. With the seller, I did a lease option until his mortgage expired, which is like 28 years. So I have a lease option for 28 years. So for 28 years, he's locked in to lease it to me. So if this buyer doesn't want to buy it, if they don't exercise their option, I can option it to somebody else down the road. And the landlord, meanwhile, cannot do anything with the property until the term expires.
Kerrie, what is to stop the owner from just selling the house without your knowledge? I mean, he has the the mortgage and he has the deed, right?
I am recording. I have recorded a. Oh my gosh, there's something that it's a memorandum. So I recorded a memorandum of 130,000 because that's what he agreed to sell the house to, and that's what my contract is. So I go and I recorded a memorandum, so that, which is a lien on the property, and so he can't sell the house without that getting cleared up.
Gotcha. So you have a second lien behind the mortgage?
No, it's not a lien. It's just I don't think it's technically a lien, but it's just something that clouds the title so that he can't sell it without clearing it up. That was a good question. Did I miss anything? Irene?
No, this is I don't know how everybody feel. I'm mind blown just by how this deal, the numbers, and yeah.
Well, so what I found is I started doing pay-per-click Google Leads about 6 months ago with a partner. And we were able, it's a completely different conversation than when you're cold calling. And we got a lot of properties under contract, but it's not that easy to sell them. Like we put them on the MLS and we were able to sell a few, but various things happen. And for me, you know, you have this distressed seller that needs to sell the property right away and you're committing to buying it, but you're not really buying it in a wholesale transaction. You're really just trying to find another seller. So what if you can't find another seller? So for me, this was just sort of like a great way to be able to help the seller out by having him not be financially responsible anymore, and then helping out a tenant buyer. They have, you know, they have money to put down. They're maintaining the property. I don't have to do anything to maintain the property, and I'm just getting paid.
So Kerrie, two questions, right? One is this your first deal in South Carolina? Like, how do you have the confidence that there's a large pool of that kind of tenant that would like to get this kind of lease purchase?
Well, this was my first one in South Carolina, and what we do is really study the comps, you know, and so we got it under contract at 130 and all fixed up. The ARV would have been, you know, maybe 330. So we knew it was a good deal, but we didn't, it's sort of like a wing and a prayer. Like you look at the numbers, but you don't really know. And so it was quiet like the first week. And so that worried me a little bit. And then I put it on Facebook Marketplace and I got totally slammed with people that want to do a rent to own. And so I said, you know, and so that was when I started researching how to do that. And I listened to a lot of Pace's stuff on YouTube at night. And so I heard about this lease option. And then I went into his course and I pulled it up and, you know, listened to it. And then I pulled up the contract that I had. And I've been selling real estate for so long. I'm comfortable with contracts because we don't have attorneys, you know, so I have to, you know, I can read the contract and basically, you know, understand it. And if I can't understand it, I can even Google it. You know what I mean? It's because I've just seen so many of it. And so I mean, you know, I didn't know. I knew that with the interest rates just being in the real estate market, I know that it's caused a huge affordability problem where people all of a sudden can't qualify anymore, you know, and so I knew that was the case. And no, it was just kind of like a wing and a prayer. But I'm telling you what, it was crazy how many people I had. And I just sort of had to weed through them. This particular house needed a lot of work. So what I really want to do is find another one that doesn't need a lot of work and I can sell it in a heartbeat to a tenant buyer.
Mm.
Mm.
And for
Kate,
me, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I just realized Monica you have your hand up. I cut in line. Do you want to go ahead?
Let me, I didn't, Monica, do you want to go ahead?
I just had yep.
Go ahead, Monica.
Just a quick question for you on the option fee. So on your example, it was 10,000. Does that go to you or does that go to the seller or is it split?
That goes to me because I owe the seller 5,000.
Okay.
So I 10,000 and then I paid him 5. Got
you. Okay.
Pocketed 5. And then when they go to pay this off, they're going to pay me 150,000. But meanwhile, over here, I'm paying down his mortgage every single month. So,
so the buyer has 5 years to get a mortgage in their name. If they aren't able to, can they stay and rent it? Do they get another option to bump out or do they just have to leave?
No, you can give them another option and then they pay the other option fee.
Okay. Man, I am loving this, Kerrie. I'm going to take this template. I'm going to try this template. I love this.
Mhm. Does anybody
It's a-
else do wholesaling?
It's important to note that there are states where lease options are illegal. So you really need to check your market.
Are you sure?
Yes, Texas, it is illegal to do a lease option.
I
Believe
think
me.
you
if
said
we-
that.
What's that? Yeah. So
I thought you said that.
yeah, I know
Is there,
that
they
because
call it something else?
so you can have a wrap buyer, but it is a
Okay.
little different. So you have to watch the
Yes.
language that you use, especially if you're going to put something on marketplace. I would
Definitely.
just, I mean, obviously, this is freaking genius. This is
No,
amazing.
before, you know what? Before I go into any state, I do all that research because
Yes.
every state is so different. Yeah.
But I will also
And,
say this from the standpoint that people often ask, like, well, who are these buyers, right? At one point, and for those of you who own your own businesses who don't have a W-2, if you've ever tried to buy a house without a W-2 in the last 8 to 10 years, it is hella hard.
Very-
Hard. Especially if you have a great accountant and you are writing off as much as possible. I know on paper, my husband and I look poor, like we look destitute, but we're not. And so this is a way, so it's not just something that you can do with $130,000, $150,000 range. There are people doing this with higher end homes because there's a lot of people that will fall into this same kind of challenge where getting a traditional loan is hella hard. And I saw lots of
Absolutely.
heads shaking. Yes.
Yeah. Like you could have $1 million business. Your income could be $1 million. But if you're
That's
smart,
right.
I mean, I do the same thing. You know, my husband gets mad at me and says, well, you don't make any money. And I said, well, that's because I write off because I'm smart and I write it all off. You know, but his dad's an accountant and he looks at it and says, okay, well, you're not showing any income. And I'm like, yeah, because I have, expenses to override that. I don't like to pay taxes.
That's exactly
But
right.
yeah, it's the same problem.
Yeah. Elena, go for it.
Hi, Kerrie. Hey, thanks for sharing this. I love this model you put together. I missed the part that you mentioned about how you originally got these wholesale deals. Like, I want to hear about your wholesale advertising side of it, because the arbitrage model is very clear to me. I've done quite a bit of it, just even in the rental space, the STR space and the MTR space. This just like totally lit my brain up because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty set on the other side. So I want to know more about your wholesale side, because that can be like a heavy thing or it can be a fairly light lift. So I want to just hear like from you what that part of because you mentioned you had done something and got a bunch of houses all at once. And so I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about that side.
Yes. Okay. So we learned, I had taken another wholesaling class maybe a year and a half ago and learned how to do pay-per-click leads. And so this is all on Google, and it's, they run the ad and they click on it, like a sell your house fast or I buy houses or those kind of ads that you see. And if you click on it, they would put the information in there on the property that they wanted to sell. And,
So this is a click funnel, basically.
Exactly. And they would go to my website and then I would get an alert and then I would call them, and then find out what the deal was. And I just talked to all kinds of people, like unbelievable stories.
I'm sure. That's awesome.
And they can be expensive. You really have to, I mean, like you can spend $2,500 a month on them, but they're very good leads. They're people that just want to sell and they don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care. They don't want the money. They just want to be, they inherited the property. They're getting divorced. They want to move. They don't want to put it on the market. They don't want showings, So yeah, that was how we got them.
Got it. That's awesome because it sounds like you definitely went beyond just doing a standard wrap, because I know that that's, obviously a thing.
Yeah.
And this is getting creative when you couldn't put a wrap in place, I guess. And was that because of the fact that the property needed a lot of work, or like, how does that play into all of this when you've got a lease to option buyer? Did they?
Yeah, I was trying to sell this and then just was going to make we had it listed for maybe 170. And, we got an offer for 160. And so we were going to sell it at 60 and we were going to get a $30,000 assignment fee. But then the buyer backed out based on the home inspection. And even though we're selling it as is, you have to allow them to have an inspection. You can't say, no, you can't have a home inspection. You just
Right.
say, yes, you can have one. And so, and then the second buyer that came through was going to get a FHA construction loan, a 203K, I think they are. And then they found out they were going to have to use that, someone certified by the FHA, and they wanted to use somebody in their family. So then they backed out. But though that was our original intent, was just to take the $30,000 assignment fee. And then clearly that wasn't working. So, meanwhile, I had all these people, on Facebook wanting to do the rent to own. So it took me a little while to talk him into, letting me take over his payments. That took, 3 months to do. But then I was like, okay,
For sure.
I don't know. Yeah. I have a tendency to be pretty creative in that regard, There's thinking outside the box, I guess, because I've had to be to solve, problems that have come up over the years in real estate.
Awesome.
Monica.
Monica.
Yeah, well, and certainly this was a
You're muted, Monica.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was interrupting. So I have a second question, and I've heard about like the lease to own before. So you would be better off if they actually lease the full 5 years versus, say, in 2 years purchasing the property, because you're
Yes.
collecting that 700, and the seller also, they're paying down the mortgage.
Mhm.
Okay. And
That's
that,
true.
because and then at the end of the 5 years, the price is still the 150, regardless of what the market is and what the house value is.
I mean, you basically can negotiate anything you want. Like you could say that you're going to have it based on an appraisal, at that time, but then
Okay.
that's risky because you know the market's going to go down.
Right.
Like here, I'm guaranteed $20,000. Plus, I'm going to be making $500 a month, and I've just, I've got $5,000 of the non-refundable option fee. So for me, that's fine. I don't need to make more than that. Like I wouldn't want to risk it, if you know what I
Right.
mean.
Right. No, you
Yeah,
have
you
good
can
cash
do it.
flow.
Pardon me.
You have great cash flow for the next 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to do a few more of these.
Yeah.
And the thing is that this landlord's locked in. He can't sell it. I mean, you could take him to court, but, if he does, but he'd have to evict you, and, you have this contract. So hopefully you wouldn't get evicted.
And I know Pace has shared this, like on some of his, where the people that move in, they actually treat it as if they already own it. Are they allowed to start doing improvements on that house?
Oh, yes. I'm letting them do whatever they want. I forgot to tell you that important thing. So they're making the renovations themselves. They're paying for it and they're making the renovations. I think you're muted, Katie.
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Let's go on to Liliana.
What's that? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Hi, Katie. Hi, Kerrie.
Hi.
How you doing? What a great lesson that we got tonight. So thank you for that.
Sure.
One question that I have, what about the home insurance, the house insurance? How do you go about that? Would that be
Okay.
on the owners, the previous owners, or how would that go?
So this seller has his own homeowner's insurance. And so if I were going to buy this subject to, then I would get my own insurance. But in this case, I had the buyer, the tenant buyer is getting what's called a, oh, there's an insurance, the name is escaping me right now, but it basically is going to cover his contents and liability insurance. It's renter's insurance is basically what it is. So he's going to get renter's insurance that protects the seller from any liability or anything that should happen there. And then the seller has his own homeowner's policy. So if anything happens, he's covered.
So it will be two different insurances, but the owner would still, I mean, it will be in the PITI, the insurance, it will be still on the owner's name, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
But then
Go
this
ahead.
tenant has renter's insurance.
Okay, and that would be because you're asking the tenant to have an insurance, so automatically they know that
Yes.
they have to have insurance.
Because I'm asking them to have
Okay,
the insurance.
okay.
Because they need to have the insurance to protect the seller. If anybody falls or anybody's injured there, they could sue the seller.
Right, and just to avoid that, that's why they have in their own insurance.
Yes.
Awesome.
Plus, their contents are not covered. If there's a fire, their personal belongings are not covered unless they have their own renter's insurance.
I see. And can I ask you for a favor? Can you bring the lease option paper up a little bit because I didn't get to see the bottom.
Oh, sure. Like this way?
Right, correct. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the penalty box buyer, but I forgot a business owner. I forgot to put that in there. That's another big one. When you're a business owner.
Thank you so much. Great lesson.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, go for it.
Hi, Kerrie.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
See, I told you, Kerrie. I knew you had like magical stuff in your toolbox. I just knew it. Kerrie and I spoke and we connected, and I'm like, I want to pick your brain. That beautiful brain of yours that has all these tricks.
Oh, well, thank you. This is just one little lesson. There are many, many more in there.
Ooh, love it. Awesome. Well, my question is, if the tenant were to, like how with traditional renting, they can give, like in Arizona, it's a 60-day notice. Could they do something like that? And obviously they will lose out on the non-refundable option fee, right? But is that something that they could do if they needed to? Or
Yeah,
are they
like
just locked in for 5 years? Yeah, like if they wanted to be like, yep, nope, we're not going to buy this house anymore. Yeah.
I think they are locked in for 5 years. Yes, they're locked in for 5 years, but I think that if
could they break the contract, like in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, I would let them break the contract because meanwhile, I'm making $500 a month profit, but they updated the property, and I would have somebody else come in and then pay me another $10,000 option fee, or I could sell it on the market.
Got it. Okay, so, but
it just depends.
But the deed's not in your name though, right? Do you assume the deed after the 5 years, or do they take over the deed? No. Yeah. Okay.
No, I would have to pay off his mortgage and go to closing, and run a title search and all that, and have closing at that time. Yeah, you
Okay.
would still have to have a close with title insurance, and yeah, you would go to closing.
Okay. Okay. But you handle all
Yeah.
of that. Like the seller doesn't do anything. Like the seller is kind of silent in this situation. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like yeah, he's totally silent. Like, if the tenant buyer decided that they wanted to buy it, then I would get a payoff on his mortgage and pay that off with 150,000 that I'm
Okay.
getting
And they
paid.
can do that sooner than 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Too?
they can do it
Okay.
anytime they want.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
Okay, if you have more questions, let us know. I will say, quick disclaimer, because we're going to email this out to several of you. One is we don't typically email anything out unless you ask, because we have about 300 women that I email weekly for the Zoom link. And right now there's only 28 of us on here. So if you want it, please email me, Katie@watershedcompanies.com. My email is in the chat, and then that will be my reminder to send it to you. If you say email it to me in that chat, just know that I'm not going back to look at that chat tomorrow, and that will not get to me. So if you want to email me, Katie@watershedcompanies.com. Second, I just wanted to remind everyone that Kerrie is giving us information based on her experience, and this is for educational purposes only. Kerrie is not an attorney, a CPA, or a financial advisor. So please make sure that you do your own due diligence and speak with your team of experts. Kerrie just wanted to say that to make sure we're all covered. Who else has questions for Kerrie? And I actually had one, Kerrie.
Sure.
If something breaks, like if the HVAC, if the air conditioning breaks, does the seller fix it? Who fixes that?
So you have something in the contract that says that I will pay up to $200 and then they will pay the rest. There usually is like a dollar fee for maintenance, but generally, they're buying this to own it. They're making renovations, and so they're going to do everything, in my mind.
Great.
But you
Katie.
can have something in there. Remember, everything's a negotiation. You know what I mean? Like, it could be 5 years, it could be 7 years, it can be 10 years. I mean, it's all about what you think is fair and what works out, for the buyer and for you. I mean, you could put in there $1,000 if you wanted to pay up to $1,000, or you could just let the benefit of the lease option purchase is that you're not getting maintenance requests all the time. When you're a regular landlord, you're getting calls all the time. Oh, my dryer's broken. Oh, this. That's the benefit, is that they maintain it like they own it.
That's awesome. Kay, did you have another question?
Marissa has her hand up.
I have a question. So when you do this contract, your lease purchase contract, are you making it assignable? Like, is it an assignable contract so that if the tenant buyer decides to leave for whatever reason, and then you can reassign it?
So I have control of the property. So if the tenant buyer leaves, I can rent it or lease it to somebody else, or I can sell it. I have total control of the property.
Right.
Because
so
I have a lease option with the seller. So the seller can't do anything with the property because I have the option to buy it from him.
okay.
I know
So
it's a
wouldn't
lot.
that be an assignable contract? Sort of like a wholesale. When you're doing a wholesale, you're
Yes,
making
I
a
can
contract.
Yes, it would be an assignable
Like-
contract. I have total
So it
control.
need. Okay, so does that verbiage need to be in that contract?
Well, so actually, let me back that up. I have a lease option with the seller. So it wouldn't be assignable as another lease purchase. It would only be assignable as a sale. I could sell it
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I could sell it to a wholesaler that was going to sell it to somebody else and he could make a fee.
But you're the person that's
But-
making the decision, right?
Yeah. I have the contract with the seller, so I'm the wholesaler. If that makes sense. I'm the
Yeah, that's
wholesaler
what I was
'cause
wondering.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
so
take
I
it
had some,
all in.
yeah, I know it's a lot. It's a lot. You can just kind of do circles in your head and you're like, wait a second,
Right.
let me,
It's circling. It's circling.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, I
thank
have my
you.
number there. Feel free
Yeah,
to text me or
wrote.
call me.
Okay, I put it in my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, take it down because I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have because it's really easy to get in a loop, with this. And you have to actually stop and think, like I had to stop and think, no, I'm actually the wholesaler. So I have
Right.
control of
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Crystal, go for it.
All right, on camera now. I used to use options like 20 years ago, back when I started in wholesaling and stuff like that. So I'm familiar with how options work really well. So I guess to simplify, because everybody seemed to have generally the same question. So the option with the seller is assignable. That's like a wholesale contract. That's what makes it assignable. But your tenant buyer's option with you is non-assignable. They can't
Correct.
go and say, oh, well, I don't want to buy it, so I'll find my friend over here and just assign it to them. No, they can't do that. But
Well, they
you
couldn't do it
as
without my permission.
right, right. But I mean,
Like they came to me and said, look, we don't want to option this. We don't want to live here anymore, but I have my friends Bob and Susie and they want to.
right.
But
But I mean, the thing that protects you is you would say, okay, well, you have to uphold the whole terms of the contract, meaning that
right,
new person would have to come in and pay that $10,000 option fee, and
right,
it basically starts over again with them. So
right.
it's they can find somebody else, but it's not completely assignable. Saying, oh, well, you'll just step in my place and you don't have to do anything extra. Just pay the 1,700. So,
So
but
Crystal,
mhm.
so would it be like, do you do a regular contract and then the lease purchase option is an addendum?
Are you
I
talking
mean,
about with the tenant buyer or with the seller? Because we want to make sure those two actually stay separate. Because
So
what
with
you
the
do with the
seller,
seller is your own thing, and what you do with your tenant buyer is separate. It's very much like a wholesale deal where you have your AB contract and you have your BC contract, and never the two meet. So
okay,
you
yeah, that was my question. Like, do you do a regular contract with the seller and then you make that contract assignable and then you do a lease purchase option as an addendum?
No, so the what you have with your tenant buyer is an entirely separate contract between you and them.
Okay,
What you
right.
have with your seller is you have, like she has here, she has the option. The option is what gives her the option to buy the property at $130,000. That's the option. And she has that $5,000 fee, which gives her the option to buy. And she's got a sweet deal here that says she can go 28 years on that contract, which I've never heard of. So normally it's like 5, 10 years, but to say,
so,
oh, well, we can ride out this mortgage. They
why
granted,
not?
you don't
Right.
want to do that because that's a long time, but I mean,
But I don't have to, it's just sort of a
that's
backup.
that right. That's the backup. And that's, part of your protection that you have in there. You have that.
Yeah.
The option is really the most important part of the contract. That's what gives you what's normally called first right of refusal. Say if, like she said, if the seller says, hey, well, I want to sell or whatever, hey, we have a contract here. And either you can, we're under contract for this amount of time, if I have this amount of time to exercise my option to buy. But you never have to exercise your option. You can be like, oh, I don't want to. Or you can assign your option to buy that property to somebody else. That's the assignable portion. The lease part with the seller is for making the mortgage payments and stuff like that. So it's really, you want to just be sure that it is two separate contracts, just really like any wholesale deal. You have your AB and you have your BC, and they're not related. You keep them separate, because if you start commingling them, then you run into problems. So always keep them separate.
Yes.
This is so fascinating, and just following the chat, people are like, my mind is blown. Well, and I think the thing is, Kerrie, is that so many times we're taught kind of the same thing over and over. And one of the nice things that you've done is really introduce a lot of us to something new. And so, first of all, I appreciate you coming into this conversation and giving us something new to think about, because I don't know a lot of people who are thinking about this as another option. Oh gosh, using that word option. And then Crystal, thanks for jumping in just to remind us about some of that contract. I think the other thing, in case no one else has realized this, is that we have two women. We have Kerrie in here who understands how to do this. She's done this. She's been a realtor for years. And then Crystal, it sounds like you've done some contracts and understand, you've been in this wholesale business for a long time. And this is the power of why I always want you networking with other women. Because again, there's only 31.6% of us in real estate investing who are women. This is a man's game. It's a boy's game. And yet, look at the freaking answers just on this call about this one new strategy, or one strategy. It might not be new to you. Yeah, Monica said you could negotiate the terms. I love this idea of just negotiating. Kerrie's said multiple times, yeah, you negotiate what you want.
Yeah.
So any last, any last questions for Kerrie, or last thoughts that you have, Kerrie?
No, I don't have years of experience wholesaling. I've only done like a handful of them. So I'm not as comfortable as you are, Crystal, but one thing I am comfortable with is the contracts, you know what I mean? And I know that there's a huge demand, that there's a huge affordability issue. So I'm like, ding, ding, ding. I obviously I couldn't wholesale this and make money, so I'm going to try to do it, with this lease option, and it worked out great. And now I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to just rinse and repeat. And I mean, ideally, I'd like to I'd like to purchase it and own the property and have control of the property. But since I couldn't, this was like second place, but in the future, I'll try to own the property and then lease option it. Mostly because I like the fact that I don't have to deal with, tenant, issues. I don't want to deal with tenant issues.
Well, and this is just another great way, right? Like getting that $10,000 or whatever that non-refundable option fee is, getting that money up front. You've obviously figured out how to get cash flow, as people have said. So, I mean, yes, in the long term, does this add a door to your portfolio? No. But if it meets some of the other goals, then great. Like, this,
Right.
again, this is just another tool in the toolbox as we're all building our portfolios and what we want to do. And sometimes cash flow is more important than, do I actually own the door?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Exactly. I don't need
yeah.
tax benefits. I need cash flow.
Right. Exactly. In some years, you're going to be like, no, I need to buy the damn thing because I
Yeah.
need all
I
the
mean, I need
tax
both, but
depreciation.
yeah, one or the other. I think I'll take cash flow. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Well, I'm going to invite you to stop sharing your screen because I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I can do that. Maybe.
Just down at the bottom, I think you said.
I have to get on the Zoom, I think. Oh, goodness.
Never mind. I figured it out.
Okay, I'm good. You got it?
Yes. Awesome.
Okay, good.
Okay.
You're in control now.
Well, thank you again, Kerrie. Thank you for raising your hand. And I want to remind everyone, Kerrie's even said, like, I mean, yes, she's been in real estate for a number of years and she's clearly very good at what she's doing. But also Kerrie's new to this community. Kerrie just attended for the first time, I think a week or two ago. And,
Yeah,
you know, one of the things
for introducing to you all.
Yeah. And yet at the same time, she figured out what she could teach us, right? So I remind you all that because we each have something in us to teach. Crystal, we didn't know that you were an expert in some of these things. We didn't know you've been wholesaling this long. Sounds like there's something in your back pocket that you could share with us that you know how to do. You know, again, start thinking through what is it that you know. It doesn't have to be something that you're an expert in real estate, right? You might be like, I'm brand new to real estate, but you might be an expert at, I don't know, how you set up monday.com for your CRM, right? Like there's something that you are really good at. And so it could be like, here's how I've used mantras to change my life. Here's my morning routine that's completely transforms me, right? Like, is there something that you could teach, that you could share? Again, it doesn't have to take up the whole time. It could take up 10 minutes, but would be of value. So start thinking through that. Okay, we have 2 minutes left, and I know a lot of women want to jump on to Pace's call. So I just want to open it up for what are your wins? What are, remember, they could be something huge. You could have closed on something huge, or it could be something super small. Hey, I jumped on this call for the first time and it was a big, huge deal for me. I took myself off camera. But we want to be the place that you come and celebrate, because if you don't have anyone else to celebrate with you, we want to be that. So take yourself off mute and let us know, what are your wins? What are milestones? What are things that we can celebrate with you?
I'll go.
Go for it, Colleen.
Don't force me. Don't force me. Okay. So I'm excited. I did my first PML deal on Friday, this past Friday.
That's awesome. Tell us about it.
I joined Gator like a year ago. And so I just jumped into sub 2 and then I bought a couple of houses and then renovated them. And anyways, then did top tier. So I'm here now. And I'm kind of circling the whole wagon on everything and what I really want to focus on, right? Like my 3 things. What are my things? So I was sponsored by a Gator, and him and I have a JV. He actually paid for the cost for Fund and Grow. And we have a revenue share structured for like the first couple of years. And then it phases out completely. But I went through the whole Fund and Grow and I got 0%. I don't know if it's a good number. I got 62,000 at 0% for a year between 4 cards. So that was exciting. That was all business credit. So anyways, I learned a lot kind of going through that process, and just because they take on some, and then I know I'm kind of like belaboring the point, we've got to go, but it was fascinating. Happy to share what I learned so far at some point. And I took those funds and did the PML.
That's amazing. And when,
Yeah.
how long is the terms? What are the terms? How long? What's your percentage? When will you get it back?
Okay, so it's a little crazy. It's 6 months. And the return is supposed to be about 75%. So that's I'm thrilled about that, but I'm also like, what? So we shall see. And then I'll take 30, it's like a net 30 days after the 6 month expires. So it's kind of a hybrid between some real estate and probably some alt investments.
All right. So we're going to congrats. And then we want to check in on you and hear how this is going. Like,
Please do.
yeah, absolutely.
Monica, real quick, what cards? It was one was Freedom Bank, one was Chase, one was Truist. Chase and Truist were the largest, I think like 25 each, and the other ones were like 4 each. So
Love
That's
it.
great.
thank you for letting me kind of blab on about that.
Yeah, thank you. It
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
maybe something
If
else
anybody's
that
interested in like
you could teach us.
information, yes, happy to do that.
Awesome. Great. Okay, who else is next? Who's done something that they're proud of that they want to celebrate? Remember, nothing is too big and nothing is too small.
All right, I'll go. I am on track to make 25K this month alone
Woo!
from PML and EMDs. Yeah.
Just from lending PML and EMD.
Yep. I was supposed to get a wire today, but it's gonna come in tomorrow. So, oh well, they're gonna give me $150 for late fee. So,
Wow.
That's awesome, Kay.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, and the power of networking, the deals just, not to sound corny, but they just came to me. You know, and yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
Okay, I want to
I
touch
don't know,
on that for
sounds
a
corny,
second.
but it's like, okay.
No,
Yeah.
I want to touch on that for a second. And if you need to go, feel free to go. But I feel like there's a lesson underneath that. So when you say they came to you, tell me a little bit about, like, I don't know, were you manifesting anything? Were you like in a good headspace? Like,
Yeah,
did you just believe it's gonna happen? Like, I don't know.
Well, you know, after the big PML payout, I was like, this really works. And I met Pace at the sub 2 fund, and I made a comment to him about that. And I was like, where has Gator been all my life? And I don't know, I just believed in it. And Katie, like you've been saying, like I've been networking. You know, I do Gator full time now. So like every week I meet with Gators, I talk to Gators, I try to add value to them as much as I can in any way, shape, or form. And so they just come to me now. They're like, hey, like one of the deals was you know, from Pace's cameraman, Eric. Eric's like, hey, want to do a PML want to do an EMD with me? I'm like, sure, you know, like, yeah. Networking. So yeah, I guess they just came to me and he was like, let's do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And you know, did my due diligence, everything worked out. So I just funded it. Yep.
So I want to point out a couple of other things that Kay did not say. So she said networking. One was networking. Number 2 was she got really clear on what it is she's doing. She's like, I'm doing this. Number 3, she stepped out and partnered with people even when she was nervous and scared, right? Things don't come to us when we just sit back and go, well, I'd really like that to be making $25,000 a month on EMD, but I'm not going to do anything, right? She had to go and do something. And then she's intentionally just continuing to put that out. Okay, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, Katie. Yep. No, I love it. I don't know where Gator has been all my life. I mean, I keep repeating it, but it's true. I even told, yeah, I'm like, where have you been? I just love it. You know, I used to be a pediatric surgery nurse, and I loved doing that, you know, like being with the kids, doing all those crazy surgeries and, you know, different things like that. I loved it. But this gives me a different purpose and a different eye,
Yeah.
so to say. So it's wonderful. Like, I just love it. I love being a private money lender and in Gator, and yeah, this is my
love
thing.
Way to go, Kay. Okay, who else? Who else has something? I feel like Lacey wants to jump on. I do. No, come on.
Okay. All right, girl. Hi, everybody. So on that note, Kay, same thing. I was like just reaching out on the group and I was like, hey, how can I help with private money lending? And so this week I helped fundraise $188,000. Or I should say
Wow.
raise, not fundraise, but I will say 43 of it was my own money from my 401k with Horizon Trust. So I was one of the lenders, and one of the lenders that put in 70,000, it was literally just from a post. And I was like, from 2 weeks ago. And then I had a follow-up phone call with him. He was in France. And so it was just the consistency. So it was awesome. And so this will all fund tomorrow. Yeah.
Get it. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Yep. So I was definitely the connector on it, and I know I should definitely be better on like how much money I'll make, but that's
Okay.
I think the person that I was with, I'll probably get like either 1.5% or 3%. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
just remember, from a connector's fee, I think we all have to be really careful about because there's a lot of connectors in this group, because we're women and we're really good at like paying attention and then connecting. We
Yep.
have to be really clear on what the vernacular is that we can use.
Yep.
And I say that because we're going to send this out and we're recording. So I don't know, we might even find someone that can help us with that. But I know Kalisha Carter was just talking with Julie Burkhart about this on her podcast like 2 hours ago.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we're all using, because it's a finder's fee, and you shouldn't say percentage of, because that's a security. And again, I don't want you to have to wear orange unless
I appreciate it. Yes.
Nobody wants to go to jail.
I will say it was an established relationship over the last few weeks.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
So that was the win. So thanks for celebrating everybody with me.
Yeah. Anybody else? I have one, and then we'll end on someone, because I don't want everybody to think that we have to end on me. So it's been in my heart for a while now. Back in 2018, I had a podcast. I quit because it was hard. And I've been thinking about it for about 5 months now. And last week I just said, okay, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. And so I'm starting a new podcast. It's called Not Meant to Be Subtle. Because in case you haven't noticed, I am not subtle. I don't want you to be subtle. I don't want any of us as women to be subtle. I think we have big, bold things to do. And I record my first episode tomorrow. I already have 5 interviews scheduled, and this will be all launching in January. Of course, I'll tell you about it. It's not necessarily going to be real estate focused at all, but it is going to be focused on helping women just jump into, have you ever sat down and thought, am I meant for something more? Then I want to give you the tools, the techniques, all of the other women's stories to say, hell yes, I have, and I'm going to go and do it. So super excited about that. Also super terrified, but really excited. Who else has something to celebrate? We'll end on one last celebration. Anybody? Marissa, has there been any good news? Crystal? April? Anybody ripped a Band-Aid off this week? No Band-Aids ripped? Y'all just been watching TV all week? Are we Netflixing?
So for the Band-Aid, right?
Oh, Irene.
So actually, since last week, Now I'm complete full-time in real estate and business acquisition. So thank the universe for taking off my golden handcuffs.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Irene, we're so excited. In case you guys haven't spent time with Irene, I highly, highly recommend you get on her calendar. In case everyone doesn't know, I have a huge girl crush on Irene because I just think she's freaking amazing. I love her story. I love her grit. I love her determination. I have a scout call scheduled with her on Wednesday because now that she is full time in this, I'm like, oh, we need to figure out how to partner. So if you need a new partner to do things, get on Irene's radar. She is a freaking go-getter. She's going to make things happen. We cannot wait to just stand behind you and support you and cheer you on, Irene. And so congratulations on releasing those golden handcuffs. It's crazy. It's a crazy journey. All right, ladies, thank you so much for showing up for yourself. Thank you so much for taking time to learn something new, to put yourself out there, to ask hard questions, to potentially find your new bestie or your new JV partner, or just to hang out with friends that you haven't seen since last week. We will be back next Monday. Again, feel free to invite any woman that you know that is inside Sub 2 or inside Gator. If you're not getting our weekly emails, shoot me an email so that we can get you on our list. I send out an email every week just to remind you about this call and to tell you who is going to be our speaker. Think about what you could speak on. And remember this week, when you are comparing yourself, specifically if you see something on social media and you start to get comparison-itis, what you are seeing on social media is a snapshot. It is what someone wants you to see. It is not their entire story. It is not all of their bad moments. It's just one tiny second of their good moment. So remember not to compare yourself. Remember that you have great moments as well. If you don't know what they are, get out a piece of paper, set a timer for 5 minutes, and write out your gratitude list, all of those things that you are grateful for. Remember, what you focus on expands. Focus on gratitude, being the best you, showing up for yourself, and being a kick-ass real estate investor. Thank you for being here. We will see you next Monday night. Bye,
Thank
ladies.
you, Katie. Bye.
Katie.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye. Thank
Kerrie.
you.